Ever wonder why your brain decided that the kid who ate glue in art class was suddenly the most fascinating human on Earth? Turns out, your first crush wasn't about love at all. It was your developing brain running a beta test on emotions it had zero manual for. Now, imagine you're 8 years old, sitting in Mrs. Henderson's 3rd grade classroom, and suddenly you care deeply about whether someone notices your new backpack. What changed overnight? Nothing rational, that's for sure. Here's the real question. How does a brain that still believes in the tooth fairy suddenly develop complex feelings about another person's smile? The answer involves a cocktail of hormones, social conditioning, and pure neurological chaos that nobody warned you about. Behind the scenes of every elementary school crush is a fascinating biological conspiracy. Your brain starts releasing dopamine whenever you see that special someone, the same chemical that makes ice cream taste amazing and video games addictive. Essentially, your neural wiring decided to gamify human interaction before you even learned long division. Cue the Disney movies and playground folklore about true love, but what's actually happening is your prefrontal cortex trying to make sense of feelings while still developing at the speed of a dial-up internet. Connection. Your brain is literally under construction while processing these emotions, which explains why you thought giving them a Valentine shaped like a dinosaur was the height of romance. Before you know it, these seemingly innocent crushes shape how millions of adults approach relationships decades later. Studies show that early romantic experiences, even the cringeworthy elementary school variety, create neural pathways that influence partner selection and attachment styles for life. That awkward moment when someone rejected your offer to share your fruit snacks, your brain filed that away in its permanent database. Some psychologists say these early crushes are essential developmental milestones. Others argue they're just kids mimicking behavior they see in media and from adults. Who's right? Probably both, which makes the whole thing even more absurdly complex. As society shifts and children gain earlier access to social concepts through technology, the elementary school crush evolves too. What used to be passing notes now involves elaborate emoji strategies and understanding which classmate has the best snack trays. The fundamentals stay the same, but the delivery system gets constant updates. Despite all our adult wisdom and relationship advice books, we still can't quite explain why 3rd graders develop intense feelings about someone they've barely spoken to. The same mysterious alchemy that made you rehearse conversations in your head for hours persists in modified forms throughout human development. We just get better at hiding it and calling it something more sophisticated. Here's where it gets even stranger. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain regions activated during childhood crushes are remarkably similar to those lit up during adult romantic love. The intensity might feel different, but the hardware is essentially running the same program. Your 8-year-old self wasn't being dramatic. Those feelings were neurologically legitimate, just wrapped in a smaller, more confused package. The mechanics reveal something fascinating about human social development. Elementary school crushes serve as training wheels for emotional regulation, social risk-taking, and understanding rejection. Every time you worked up the courage to sit near your crush at lunch, your brain was practicing vulnerability in a relatively low-stakes environment, building skills you'd need for decades to come. What nobody tells you is that these crushes often have nothing to do with the actual person and everything to do with what they represent. Maybe they were good at kickball. Maybe they had cool erasers. Maybe they just smiled at you once during attendance. Your brain took minimal data and constructed an entire fantasy, which is essentially what humans do with attraction at any age. We just develop more sophisticated justifications later. The really absurd part? Most people can't even remember their elementary school crush's last name, yet the emotional patterns established during those years persist indefinitely. That tendency to idealize people from a distance, the fear of rejection, the thrill of reciprocated attention, all beta tested on the playground before your permanent teeth came in. Teachers and parents mostly ignore these dynamics, treating them as cute phase rather than the genuine emotional experiences they are for kids. But developmental psychology suggests that dismissing or mocking these feelings can actually complicate emotional development, teaching children that their internal experiences aren't valid. The stakes feel cosmic when you're 9, and that perception matters more than adult hindsight suggests. Fast forward to present day, in elementary schools still buzz with the same unspoken crushes and social hierarchies, just with different cultural references. The kid who brings the newest trading cards holds power. The one who's funny during group projects gains admirers. Human social dynamics start forming their blueprint earlier than most people acknowledge, and childhood crushes are just the most obvious symptom of that invisible curriculum. As adults look back, they either cringe at their younger selves or romanticize those simple times, but rarely do they recognize what was actually happening. A biological and psychological system activating for the first time, completely unequipped, but desperately trying to figure out this whole human connection thing. Every awkward confession, every pass note, every calculated move to be in the same dodgeball team, all of it was your brain's rough draft for intimacy. The cultural conversation around childhood crushes remains weirdly silent, despite their universal nature and lasting impact. We've collectively decided to treat them as adorable footnotes rather than the foundational emotional experiences they actually are. Maybe that's because acknowledging their significance would require admitting that 8-year-olds experience genuine feelings that deserve respect, not just patronizing smiles. That's the hidden story behind every elementary school crush, a messy, beautiful, neurologically significant experiment that nobody signs up for, but everyone experiences. But here's the twist. Those feelings you thought were embarrassing childhood nonsense, they were actually your brain's first attempt at understanding one of humanity's most complex challenges. And honestly, given the lack of instruction manual, you probably did better than you think. The game was rigged from the start, but at least the stakes were only who got to be line leader that day.